Hey everybody, just want to let you know that beginning of the recording and during the interview, my mic was not working correctly. We had it's weird how it works because I had an accident in the home studio here that my cat caused that turned off my computer, and we somehow were able to save the recording, but it was recording under the wrong input, and then I realized it and changed it. So the first half of the show, my audio sucks. I'm sorry. I did all I could to fix it, but I sound like I'm sitting inside a tin can. Once you get to the end of the show, right after all the comic book news, my audio goes back to normal. There was just nothing I could do to fix it. So I'm sorry. Hope you can deal with it for this week. Next week we'll be back better than ever. Enjoy the show, guys. Everybody, and welcome to the Fortress of Comic News, episode 171. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside it's Mike.
Hey, it's me. Been a couple weeks, huh?
Yeah, how was your fourth?
It was good. Lots of cooking out, lots of beer, can't really complain. How was your fourth?
It was good. I got to be a rhino.
What? Oh, well, that is awesome. That's a rhino mask. Where did you get that?
Yeah. So, we took the kids to the zoo. The zoo is open.
Okay.
Hopefully the lions didn't give me COVID. And then we also had a cookout. So, it was a good weekend.
Nice. The zoo is something that's like, it's mostly outdoor, and I feel like you'd be not too worried about being there, right? I don't know.
You're wearing a mask when you're there, but our zoo, at least, is the perfect time, to walk down and up and, see all the animals and, have little interactions. It was about 2 hours. And by the end of the 2 hours, I was ready to take that goddamn mask off. So,
yeah.
So it was kind of perfect. And the ones they had there were, they're very thin and they're not too bad. So, but it was fun. And then, the kids need to get out of the house. It's been, 3 months with nothing but the house.
Yeah. It's just fun to, go out and, do things. Remember doing things and stuff? Remember that? Remember we going to Dave & Buster's or gathering in groups, oh, man. Anyways, folks, we have a great interview today with Rob Stanley, The Bite of Brenna Barlow, #1 on Kickstarter. Check it out. Really cool blind vampire who's telepathic
and has a wiener dog.
With a wiener dog with Dotson. So sidekick Dotson that she talks to. So check it out. The Kickstarter is already almost funded. He's got 20 days left and some cool extras if you go a little past that goal he's got there. So stay tuned for that. With that, I think we'll just jump into the news because we got a lot of comics to talk about later too. It's been a couple weeks and some comics have been read. So couple here and there. If you know Chris, it's probably about 75. But we'll get through all of them today. It's happening. Okay, some Stargirl news for TV news, which is indirectly DC has put the nail in the coffin on DC TV or DC Universe because Stargirl got renewed for season 2, but it's going to CW now. Everybody knew, okay, it was on DC Universe or whatever it's called, and now it's getting moved. The second season's renewed, it's going to CW. So I think that's pretty much the end of that's okay, we're not renewing anything else for this platform. It's all going somewhere else.
Yeah, so this happening was the final for me too. It's Snyder Cut's going to HBO Max.
Right.
We've got Doom Patrol simultaneously being launched on HBO Max, which I think that will migrate over with season 3, assuming there is one. Harley Quinn is making its way over soon. So, all the original stuff is over on HBO Max for the most part. And
DC Universe doesn't have anything that's solely theirs anymore. So I've been predicting it for a while. I think, by next year, DC Universe will be a Marvel Unlimited style app, not a TV streaming app.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, good. I don't want to pay for 2 apps, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I agree there. I mean, why not include all? If you can include all the HBO stuff, okay. And now we got some info that Matt Reeves is developing a spin-off series based off his new Batman film. It's going to be for HBO Max, and the series will follow the Gotham PD. If anybody knows the original that Gotham story that followed, that follows just the Gotham PD and how they deal with everyday villains when Batman's not around.
Gotham Central.
Gotham Central, yeah.
Everybody pick up your copies of Gotham Central. It's speculation time.
Speculation time. We all thought that Gotham would be that show, but Gotham danced around so many different genres within those seasons that it never really was Gotham Central. And
Gotham first it made the mistake of hiring Will Smith's wife because she's awful.
Yeah.
But
yes.
The other big mistake was not having Batman.
Right.
Batman shouldn't have been a little boy, or Bruce shouldn't have been a little boy. He should have been grown. I mean, if you could have at least done a mid-20s Batman or a teenage Batman, but yeah, or just not do him at all. Not even worry about Bruce and just do the Gotham Central thing. But yeah, there's a few problems with that show.
I like the idea that it's going to HBO Max though, because it's going to be taken more. It's going to be more. It's less tongue in cheek, more serious, because especially if it's related to the Batman movie. And maybe this makes sense why they're introducing so many characters into the first movie, because you could easily take all those villains that they introduced and make a season out of it or whatever they want to do.
Yeah, and there's a rumor going around that the Batman is going to be its own universe separate from everything else going on in DC, because with Flashpoint it looks like they're trying to rearrange the DC universe. It's fucking confusing, but
very confusing.
If that's true, then yes, it makes a little bit more sense to introduce every villain ever in the first movie, to then have a TV show spinned off in that universe, and then kind of do a few other things so. I'm down. I've been wanting a real Gotham Central TV show, so let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Matt Reeves, he did an awesome job with the Apes, so.
Yeah, he makes good ape movies, so.
Yeah, for sure. We got a couple trailers. New trailer for The Boys Season 2. Awesome. It's the boys are on the run, pretty much, right? They're getting hunted. And it looks like all-out war. Butcher's coming back, and they're taking a different twist with this, I think. It's almost like first season was established the origin story, and now we have it's it almost, not like a heist, but almost it reminded me of that, of okay, we're on the run, and it's going to play more into them being a team, I think, so that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, it looked like Terror might be in this season too. I don't know if you caught that in the trailer.
No, I didn't see that.
But there was 100% a Bulldog, and I don't know if that's just them trying to throw fans off or Easter egg.
Yeah.
But I saw him. The violence was on par with what I expect with The Boys.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody had to bring my excitement down this week about it, though.
Oh, no.
So, we know Derek Robinson was the artist for The Boys, at least initially. Mm-hmm. And he does all the covers. He recently went out on Twitter and said that, and I'm quoting here, "I have co-created adaptive properties that I failed to get recognition and compensation for, starting with Nightwing and succeeding with The Boys." A close friend of mine replied, "You getting paid was the only reason I cared about that show." And he replies back with, "I'm getting nothing." So I want to bring that up to say that why the fuck isn't Derek Robinson getting paid for this?
Yeah, that's kind of strange. When he was there to create the characters.
Yeah, that needs to be changed. And anyone out there, make a scene about this, because that's ridiculous. He's just as much a creator as Warren or
Garth Ennis.
Garth Ennis. I always mix those two up.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that's really weird that they're. It's like the Bill Finger situation all over again. Like, it's so weird the way that people handle these, like, who owns what character, and it's like, a lot of the times it's multiple people came up with this, you know?
Yeah, and especially since he's even listed as co-creator on all the trade stuff, but...
Right. It's very strange. Yeah, so the next trailer we got was Umbrella Academy Season 2. Looks awesome. Basically, they travel to a time where they start a whole new apocalypse again. So it looks like we have the full cast of characters now. And I don't know, they have like a week to end the apocalypse or something, but it looks awesome. I mean, it's a lot more of what Season 1 was, powers, how the characters relate to each other. They add someone, it looks like, at the end there.
Yeah.
Sure who that was.
And it's following the second trade a little bit, because it's all about the assassination of Kennedy and the organization that I believe it was number 5 was a part of. So I'm down. The first season was great. Like, that's hands down, one of the best comic book adaptations I've ever seen. And I can't wait for the second season.
Yeah, I really liked it too. I mean, comic book stuff aside, it was just a great show. I think they did a great job.
Yeah, I knew a lot of people that could care less about comic books or superheroes that love that show.
Yeah, me too. So they did a really good job. So yeah, let's cut to this awesome interview with Rob Stanley talking about his project, and we'll see everybody on the other side. So hey, support Rob. Check out the Bite of Brenna Barlow, #1 on Kickstarter right now. 20 days left, almost there, funded. Get those stretch goals. Help them out.
Yes, book is good. It's got
really
wiener
good.
dogs.
Got wiener dogs.
What else do you need?
Yeah, that you can talk to. Come on. It's yeah. How can you not throw money at this book? All right. So comics. We'll jump into the comic book news. Disney has announced that Mandalorian will get its own line of comics. I only laugh because Chris is getting broke over there.
Yep.
And it's going to be published by both Marvel and IDW. So not only are they going to have multiple comics in the Mandalorian verse, now they can't even decide who wants to publish.
Well, most likely Marvel's going to publish the adult ones. IDW's it's going to be like Mandalorian Adventures, and it's going to be all ages stuff.
And Chris is going to read all of them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got no happens to that Baby Yoda.
Yep, I know. I mean, you need more of that. It's like, come on. I think it's going to be really popular. I mean, how can it not be?
I'm down. I hope they get some good creative teams. I mean, just like anything else, I hope there's good creative teams. So.
Yep. Marvel has announced at the beginning of 2021 they'll be taking over publishing of Alien, Predator, and Alien vs. Predator comics. This is interesting because it used to be DC back in the day, right? So now it's come...
No, Dark Horse. It's always been
Dark Horse. I'm sorry, yeah, Dark Horse, yep.
The interesting part of this is that DC and Dark Horse have collaborated, so there is, like, Batman versus Alien comics.
Right, that's what it is. Yeah. But that's interesting. I wonder if they're putting the Marvel name on it to try to get more popularity out of it, or...
I think... So... I mean, this is a Fox merger thing, so
yeah,
obviously they can get them. Most likely, because I feel like somebody at Disney or some bigwig wants Marvel to make more money. So Marvel is no longer just the Marvel universe. Now, like they're publishing Star Wars, which yes, I know everybody they published it back in the '80s.
Yeah,
but they're going back to like publishing that. They're going back to publishing Conan like they used to. Mm-hmm. And now you add this. I don't think this is groundbreaking. Is when they took Star Wars away from Dark Horse, but there's still a fan base out there, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to predict a crossover because I thought that would have happened already with Star Wars, and it hasn't.
Yeah, you would think that, but another event title is spinning out of the Marvel Venom series. It's called The King in Black, and it's going to reunite Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. All right. That's how you print some money over at Marvel Comics. It's an epic event that'll pit the Marvel Universe against the symbiote god Null. Awesome. That's all we need to know. We don't need to tell us anymore.
No.
Let those guys do whatever they want.
Blank check. Here we go.
Yep.
I'm in.
Easy money for them.
Yeah. The only funny part about all this is that Johnny's out there saying like it's the most metal thing he's ever done while we're reading Dark Knight's Death Metal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting a little tongue in cheek over there. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, the guy writes great stuff, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't imagine. So previously at the beginning of the Diamond distributors COVID shutdown, we've been touching on this almost every episode now. Marvel has announced that a few titles would finish their runs digitally only, so they won't even print them. This week, Marvel just announced that they're now resoliciting the same remaining issues for the series to print them. So, I think that's just all reaction, right? They didn't have time to print them, so all digital. But now, once they got some footing,
I think they thought the break was going to be worse than it was, and they wanted to get comics into the hands of people that were reading them. And digitally was the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, both companies did this. DC also did it, but now they're coming out and saying like, "Oh, we'll print them now." So maybe they're seeing good return now that everything's kind of slowly getting back to some semblance of normal.
Yeah.
But I'm down because I'm reading a couple of these titles. So.
Awesome. This news has me pretty pumped. DC has announced 2 Halloween-themed horror anthologies for October. So it's pretty cool, they're anthologies. First up is Legend of the Swamp Thing Halloween Spectacular #1 with stories from Tom King, James Tynion IV, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Tread Moore, Mike Perkins, and more. So that'll be pretty cool. And then the next one is DC The Doomed and the Damned. It's going to feature Batman taking on urban legends and spooky creatures. Stories from Marv Wolfman, Saladin Ahmed, Travis Moore, Mike Perkins, and more. So that's pretty cool. I'll be picking both of those up. Those sound like fun stories.
Yeah, I might pick up the Swamp Thing one because I like Tom King's one shot he did was it like a year or 2 back?
Yeah, I do too.
The Batman one, I'll wait to see what you say about that. But I do
you want to see Batman versus Mothman? Come on.
I do like Saladin Ahmed. He's the one doing Miles Morales right now.
Yep.
And Marv Wolfman's Marv Wolfman, but that one seems more of a cash-in than anything. If he doesn't fight the Jersey Devil, then I know. Buy it.
Yeah, the Jersey Devil. We need like Jersey Devil, Sasquatch,
Sam Squanch,
and then Mothman, and maybe like Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah,
that's it. Just
stay away from Sheep Squatch, DC. That's mine.
Yeah, Sheep Squatches. That's Chris's trademark. IDW has announced, as a celebration of the 35th anniversary of the release of Back to the Future, they're releasing a 4-issue miniseries crossover with the Transformers. Awesome. This sounds like... I mean, we don't read Back to the Future or Transformers, but when they do shit like this, I love it. I love it so much.
I honest to God, I want a poster of the first issue's cover because it's the DeLorean transforming. And Marty and the professors, it's like the old poster with them standing there with the DeLorean in front of them.
Yeah.
But it's transforming into a Transformer.
Oh my God.
It's fantastic. That alone, I might just buy it just to support that cover.
Oh, that is like epic. A Transformer DeLorean, come on. Take my money. That is so cool. 35th anniversary is kind of strange to celebrate, right? But
I guess.
They just had to pick a year. They're like, I don't know, what is it, 35? Yeah, whatever.
They'll probably do something for the 40th and the 45th and the 47th.
But either way, that's awesome. I love when they do these crossovers. They're a lot of fun. Image Comics has announced that they'll be publishing writer Steve Orlando and artist David Tinto's new creator-owned series, Commanders in Crisis. Ooh, this sounds badass. The series is about a group of supers who are brought together after the destruction of their multiple worlds. Awesome. It is badass. Come on. Multiverse, Commanders in Crisis. This is amazing. This is so cool. Sold. I'm sold. Hey,
this is 100% Steve Orlando's Crisis pitch, and he's just like, fuck it, I'll do it myself.
What? I'm not Tom King? You won't give me the book? I'll take it elsewhere.
We'll sign with Marvel, and then I'll do it myself.
There's gonna be like Batman. I really hope it's like like Alan Moore did with Watchmen. I really hope there's just like complete like rip off of characters. Please give me that. Oh my god.
I'll at least check it out. It sounds fun.
I love me some multiverse stuff. Image Comics teased a new project coming this year with a blank image with white letters that say crossover with the hashtag crossover comic. So no news this week from them. Hey, Image is doing a crossover. I mean, can we guess what it is? What, they just recently did Chew and Nailbiter, right?
No, they did Chew and Outer Darkness, but that was Layman crossing over with himself.
Right.
I have two theories to this. One is they're bringing back Image United, which would be awesome.
Is that like all books within the same universe?
That was I think they did 2 issues of it, and it was centered around Invincible.
Oh, yeah.
And it was all the superheroes at Image, so anything Kirkman created, Savage Dragon was there, like Spawn was in it, like everybody was in it. It was awesome. I mean, it was awesome in idea. The execution was pretty bad, but I still love it. My other theory, and I kind of want this to be true, is that they just took all their comics and put the names in a hat and said, okay, Walking Dead is crossing over with Saga.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Do a series of one-shots based on that theory. Just like, who wants to cross over comics?
I mean, talking about like creator-owned stuff, it could be like Paper Girls and Saga, right? Maybe.
Maybe. I'm trying to dream big here. I think if it's going to be anything, it's going to be multiple creators coming together to cross over.
Yeah. Invincible, and I just want Invincible to be back, because they might not have any more Invincible stories, but you can still have a character from another universe visit his Earth, like Saga stumbling upon Earth, and it's the Invincibles' Earth, right? So you get like the Guardians of Guardians of the Globe show up or something. Like, what if it's one of those books? I used to love those books, like seeing all the extra characters in the Invincible universe. Oh man.
Yeah. So I think when this is all said and done, I'm going to put my money on it's going to be Image United, like either issue 3 or they're just going to do it again and try to do like a mini series.
That would be really cool. I'd be down for that. I guess we'll talk about what we read this week, huh? I read a new comic.
So did I.
Gunland #1.
That's not the one I read.
Oh, it's published by Magnetic Press. If I understood it correctly, it almost looks like Magnetic Press almost takes books or comics from Japan and publishes them for the U.S. or like this is like their first attempt at doing that or something. I just thought the cover looked awesome, and I think you'd enjoy the story too. But it's a reprint of a foreign comic. So this was out in other countries, but now it's finally being published in the U.S. Julian Cittadino is the writer. Basically, Wild West with dinosaurs, like they ride dinosaurs. The colors are, yep, I know. Man. It's like retro wave color scheme. Basically, it's like there's mechs too that are like cops that like chase down the bounty hunters. This guy, he takes a kid under his wing, like one of the bounty hunters does, and the kid gets shot, and then the end of the issue it talks about like he knows a shaman or someone that can revive someone. So like the end of the story, he goes and he gets to the air, like a town where there's some mystical magic happening where you can revive people. But it's a crazy, crazy art, really cool story. It's right up your alley. You'd love it. DCeased, Hope at World's End, number 4, Tom Taylor.
Oh, I did not read that.
It's okay. It was a great conversation with Superman and Damian Wayne, where Damian is like struggling to take up the mantle of the Bat, but at the end of it, he finally like puts on the Bat suit for himself. And then there's another safe haven with some like characters that we don't really see in the DC universe and like C-list characters, where we see Black Adam is heading straight for this safe house bunker, and he's bringing a whole army of zombies with him. So watch out. Justice League 47 and 48. You already talked about 47, how we wrapped up the Spectre arc. I actually like Justice League 48 is Cy Spurrier and Aaron Lopresti are switching over for the book. Yeah, so Spurrier, not a huge name in the industry, but he did some Judge Dredd stuff. He wrote Dr. Afro, which Chris was reading, and he's doing the Hellblazer Blazer comic for Black Label. So he's starting to make a name for himself. First off, the art is really good. The Aaron Lopresti art. It's definitely a Justice League story. I mean, we always talk about this. Like, is this a Justice League story? And I really want to say that like I like how each Justice League member has their own voice in this issue, and how they work together. Like Batman shooting out drones and stuff like that. They each like individually contribute, and they all have their own like idea of how to handle a situation too. So they find these children from a comet. They're like adrift in a ship. They're from a comet planet that's ruled by the Empress Sidonix. And so basically this comet planet is split into two factions. One is like organic material people, like made from cells, and the other half are mechanical people. It's a really interesting story. So there's like half machine, half creature people. And after the JL brings the kids back, they want the Justice League to rule, and the planet's called Trotha, and the Justice League's like, we can't really intervene with this type of stuff. While this is happening, a terrorist shows up because it knows that the planet is vulnerable at this point in time. And so that the terrorist blows himself up, claims war on the planet, and bad things are going to be happening. But the moral of the story is like, okay, they showed up on this planet. I think they were trying to take over the Empress, right? And the Justice League kind of stops it because it's not. They're like, this isn't a way to rule. But then they have this like internal conflict of like, okay, but who are we to be policing how planets should run their business? You know, like go about their business. So I thought it was a really cool story. I don't know how you thought about it, but I liked it.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we have another very special guest. Welcome to the show, Rob Stanley. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thank you for having me,
Hey
guys.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for being here. We definitely want to talk about your Kickstarter. It's almost funded with 20 days ago, so that's a pretty huge thing going on for you.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's great. And before we get into that, we just want to talk to you about, have you always been a huge comic fan? Do you always wanted to write your own comic? Where did it all really start for you?
Well, most of my stories that I'm getting out there into the comic realm were short stories I simply wrote as just anthology for simply written word. But then when I had nowhere to take them, and I saw different anthologies pick up and come up for comics, I can't draw. I can write. I can. I'm fortunate enough to know people who can. I got with them, and little by little, I'd get in anthologies and whatnot. But I've always been a fan of comics, but more so not like the traditional superhero comics. I was a fan of Howard the Duck, Strangers in Paradise, Terry Moore, different things where they take a little bit of drama, a little bit of fantasy, and some realism into it, Yep. And I try to incorporate all of that into what I write.
Cool. So where at what point were you like, okay, maybe I can tell my own story after reading all these different styles of comics that weren't somewhat normal, right?
Well, for like last couple of years, I've always been scrolling down ideas and outlines and whatnot. But it wasn't until I saw friends of mine get their work out there, get seen, get noticed. Garrett Gunn, Stephanie Menard, a couple friends of mine who have small press comics that they've turned into something big. And to see them do that, and they're fellow writers too. They're not artists; they're writers who just so happen to hook up with great artists. I'm thinking, you know what? I should try this as well. And I put pen to paper, and I, rearranged some of my short stories into comic scripts. And it took a couple of years for me to get with the right people to get it out there. But once I did, it seemed like it snowballed.
Cool, that's awesome. And I mean, you get that motivation, or it gives you like the hope through Kickstarter and stuff that when you see your peers had an idea like you that you're pretty passionate about, and how that passion kind of like translates, to the people that are investing too.
True.
So you started with this idea, the Bite of Brenna Barlow. So let's talk about like where that character comes from.
Well, a friend of mine told me that there was an anthology accepting submissions for horror-themed short stories for Halloween called Hollow Scream from Back for the Depths. And I had this written short story called He Said, She Said about this vampire. And I go, oh, maybe this could translate well to a 4 to 6 page short for this. And I kind of rearranged it. I put it in there and I submitted it. And Tim West accepted it. It was one of the first of the stories that he kind of gave as a preview on the website on Facebook before the book came out. A lot of people said it was good. And then as I'm sitting there and I'm reading it in the form of a comic, like, this character could actually be something. Now, in the original, it was a little darker. It was she was a little bit sinister. In the book, I put a little bit more levity. She has her sidekick Gary the Dachshund, and she can converse with him through telepathic, messages. It's kind of more like a Deadpool type of humor thrown into where there's violence and comedy involved.
So the dog wasn't there until when you brought the character back then, because that was a pretty big part of the issue for me. I enjoyed that, the back and forth.
In the original for Hollow Scream, it was just her coming upon a predator in a bar. He thought he was gonna score big time. She could read his mind, and she did him in. Now Gary came in because my wife and I, before we even got married, our first baby was Gary, a dachshund, a long-haired dachshund who passed away 2 years ago. But and just looking at him, and even some of the things I write in the comic, like in the comic at one point, Brenna calls him Senor Hot Dog. And that's what we would call Gary. So I kind of have his memory living on in the book.
That's all. You're like immortalized him almost with that. Yeah. That's so cool. That's really cool, man. Awesome. Yeah, I think that makes
always nice to talk to a fellow dachshund.
Yeah. I always try to incorporate something of my pet, because pets have been a big part of my life. I always incorporate something in there in my writing involving them and my kids too.
That's awesome. So now we have the single issue. This is like the intro for the Kickstarter, right? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
You're seeing Brenna on a grander scale. You're seeing her beyond just preying upon the ne'er-do-wells of the night. You see her home life. You meet Gary. You see a little bit of her past and how she's come to be in the future. I mean, she's a 144-year-old vampire, so she has a lot of story that I could play upon.
Right.
And you could tell that it's just she does have people in her life now from her family. You see who she's still connected to and how it incorporates into her life.
And I think that's really interesting for the issue, at least, where you talk about, or you not really talk about, but you show that relationship with her family, that, she's over 100 years old, but now her daughter, looks older and is, almost dying. and she's immortal. So it's like there's almost like you see more of the curse aspect to it. It's like, okay, she's got these cool powers, but now it's really a curse.
She's immortal, and her great-granddaughter is not. So she kind of has to live her like the caregiver and making sure she kind of, but in a way, her great-granddaughter thinks she's her mother. Like it's all these different things play upon this immortal being who has to live through this, and several loved ones, friends, whatever, who aren't going to be there, and she's still going to be there.
Yeah.
Cool. So, for people going to look into backing this, is this going to be a mini series? Do you have a certain amount of issues planned, or is this something you can see going on for a long time?
In addition to what's out there now, I mean, this was a standalone just to show her, introduce Gary, introduce kind of the more story arc elements of, her family and everything. I actually have, as of right now, 4 scripts in the pipeline that I have completed. And what would be coming up next would be a story arc called Timeless Time. And I even mentioned that in the Kickstarter, where a couple of people actually already pledged, where you could pledge to appear in Timeless Time. Your likeness appear in the story. And Timeless Time is going to be a little bit more of an epic, where you kind of see more about the family. You might meet a love or two that she had in the past, and it's more. You're gonna see an adversary in there as well, but this is just so you get to meet Brenna, you get to meet Gary, you get to see that interplay between the two of them, and how he looks out for her, and he looks out for, or she looks out for him, and he looks out for her, and what she does. Like you can see in this issue, Brenna helps people. She's a vampire. In one vein, you might see her feasting upon people, but in another vein, you might see her help a young person or help someone in danger, because in He Said, She Said, she vowed to be unlike the other members of her family who weren't so kind, and kind of help those who are voiceless.
Cool. Very cool. I think it's an interesting approach too. And it's not like the typical run-of-the-mill vampire story, I think. So that's what I enjoyed about it.
Well, plus you have to figure in also she is also telepathic too.
Right.
So you could think, oh, well, they're going to pull one over on her. She's just well, she can also read. She's blind, but she can hear thoughts that kind of guide her to maybe one up a person or two.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, where can we send everybody? I mean, the Kickstarter right now, you still got 20 days, and you're almost at the $1,000 goal. Is there any stretch goals after you hit 1,000, or?
There is. Actually, the stretch goal that I have planned is another short, because in the current Kickstarter, there are 2 origin stories. You can get a PDF of the original He Said, She Said, and there's also a PDF where you could see how Brenna met Gary. It's a short called Confessions of a Long-Haired Dachshund.
Okay.
And the stretch goal is a story that kind of leads into what's coming up. You kind of might be introduced to a character, might be in the next story arc, how they relate to Brenna.
Okay. Awesome. And I mean, it's definitely going to get backed, and I'd love to see those stretch goals, especially the one about the Dachshund too. I think that's awesome.
Well, the Dachshund is actually just a regular pledge. You can. It's called physical copy and origins, where you can get the origins in PDF form. It's the stretch goal is another. It's called Tales of the Amulet, where you can see kind of something that makes her a little bit more of a social vampire rather than one that skulks in the night. And plus, you get to see a couple of these new characters that'll be in the forthcoming issues.
Awesome. Well, we're going to send everybody to Kickstarter, the Bite of Brenna Barlow, and if our viewers, listeners want to follow you, where can we send them for that?
I am on Facebook under Rob Stanley, and I'm also on Twitter. The handle being Hey, it's Mr. Stanley.
Okay, cool.
That's where you can find me.
Awesome.
Nice one.
Yeah. And we'll post it all.
May your future be blessed with many more dachshunds, and I hope that the book does well.
My wife better not hear you say that because she wants a dog.
Yeah.
Right now we just have cats, but
Okay.
she wants a dog, so I better keep her away from this podcast.
You can't let her hear that part of it. Just cut it short and be like, what else did you talk about? Nothing. Nothing else came up.
So yeah, everybody, my cat just like knocked something over, turned my PC off in the middle of us recording. And then I realized as I was putting everything back together coming on that I had the wrong mic on. So up until now you've been listening to like a shitty mic version. I'm assuming I don't fix it in post. But yeah, so my thoughts on Justice League.
Yeah, let's hear your thoughts. I knew something was up. I just want to tell you, I knew something was up. I've heard your voice so many times. I've heard it so many times that I knew it wasn't right. Anyways, what do I know?
Oh, fuck. This is why we don't take weeks off, Mike.
I know.
As I was saying, I enjoyed Justice League probably not as much as you did, but I thought it was a cool story. With everything you said, I liked how everyone had their moment, everybody had their thing. And I did like how my favorite moment of the whole thing was when they just immediately rushed in, like, how do we get rid of this monster that's attacking the ship? And Wonder Woman just like flies away, grabs goes through the Green Lantern log, figures out what's wrong, grabs a meteor that has the mate in it, and just throws it away, and is like, yeah, if you guys would just like sit back and stop punching shit, like maybe we can get stuff done once in a while.
She's the voice of reason, like, it just follows the mate around, so it's gonna follow this asteroid that it just threw into space.
Well, I'll keep reading what Spurrier has. I mean, that was good enough for me to continue on.
That was like, that to me was just he did the Starro battle, but he did it his own way. You know what I mean? Like, that creature was Starro, and like this was his intro into the series, and he did a little twist on it, and I think that's why I enjoyed the story so much.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely was paying homage to the original team up. And then I had Batman 94. Basically, everybody's up Schitt's Creek in the last issue. The villains are all hiding. All the Gotham villains are hiding in Penguin's hideout. They're like terrified. They're like, "Oh, Joker's attacking the city again. We gotta let it pass." That's what they do. They go hide in Penguin's like bunker. They also have Catwoman there, and they're treating her for her wounds because she was shot. Joker is basically going to run rampage over the city because that's pretty much what he does. But it's just funny to see all the villains like, we're not going out there. Like, let Joker do his thing. Then we all go out after. It's just really funny. And then the Batman or Bruce has like this. I don't know. He comes to this agreement with himself that he will vow to be a better Batman. That I don't know. That he had promised Alfred or something. I don't know what that means yet. And the next issue starts what's called the Joker War. So I can only imagine what that... nothing like the War of Jokes and Riddles. That was not even a year ago. I don't know.
Nothing like Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, nothing like Dark Knight Rises or any other story that revolves around the Joker destroying the whole city and chaos ensues. What I was going to read was the last book I was going to read was the Green Lantern special, that like 100-page special. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I was catching up on a lot of TV shows, but you go ahead with what you had.
Real quick, my digital stuff. Like, I read some more Aquaman deep dives. I mean, those are fun if you like Aquaman. A DC Daily. I think they only did 2 issues of it, but I read the first one, Ghosts, #1, and it's a Mark Spector story. So it was like Mark Spector being a detective, and then like kind of old school with that. So that was fun. It's like 10 pages or whatever, but I enjoyed it.
It's cool.
Batman: The Adventure Continues, Part 7. We get introduced to Azrael, and Christian sword flaming stuff ensues. The Adventure Continues is fun. And then The Boys, Dear Becky, #2, kind of continues the whole what's going on with something happened to Butcher and the crew pre Huey that haunted him at the end before he died, and that's basically what we're going through, is some kind of fucked up events that had happened to Butcher.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, I'm not a big fan of this. Like I think I said with the first issue, it reminds me of that miniseries where Huey goes home.
Yeah.
And like he has a Hardy Boys adventure.
Yeah,
but then
right.
like for maybe 5 pages you get like Billy and the crew doing something fucked up. So we'll see when it's all done. I'm gonna finish it just because, but
okay.
I'm kind of iffy on that right now. Let's see. We got the Goddamned, the Virgin Brides #1. The original Goddamn followed Cain. So this is taking place in a different part of the Bible, and it's not a story I'm really familiar with. So there's these tribes that raise these women, these young girls, and when they bloom, if you will, they send them off to get married. But we find out that there's something more sinister going on. They think they're going to marry an angel or a acolyte of God, but something else is going on. I thought it was a really good story. It touches on some things that you don't see touched on in any kind of medium, which is kind of the times of women when you're flowered, you're ready to breed.
Yeah.
To be crude about it, but that's kind of what the story is, and it takes place in a time during biblical era. I like this series. It's Jason Aaron kind of retelling Bible stories. It's really what it is, but he's doing it in his own kind of dark way. So,
but the stories themselves are pretty messed up to begin with, so he's probably shedding some light on that because it's not far from how the story was actually written.
Yeah. Right. Well, like the first volume of it, it's a Cain story, and Cain's the first man to ever commit murder.
Right.
And it takes place pre-Noah's Ark. So like the whole series is like it's basically a Mad Maxian like wasteland. So it's really it's cool how he does it. The free comic book day issue of Firepower, which I'm surprised you didn't check out.
I didn't get
it. I wanted to like this because it's Robert Kirkman and Chris Samney teaming up, two creators I really like, but I can't get into kung fu stuff. I just can't.
Okay. Yeah.
I think you'll really love this book. But it just wasn't for me. Negan Lives #1. So this is what happened to Negan after the second to last issue of Walking Dead. So he's out on his own. He's trying to survive, and this woman pops up, and he starts to help her along. Realizes there's a sinister plan, that she has a group that's trying to scavenge, and Negan does what Negan does best. The way this ends, I really think that Kirkman has a Negan solo book in him. He sets it up for where Negan and this girl end up going on an adventure together. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get more of this book. I really wouldn't. But it was pretty good, too. The Osiris Path #2. I think I talked about this 2 or 3 weeks ago for #1. And this issue is the team going to Mars. They find another temple there, and they find out who is attacking them, or who's like following them. And it's kind of this weird occultist group that can also travel in space. It's weird, but I love it. I think it's a great book. People should definitely check it out. DCeased, Dead Planet #1. This is the book that is directly following the original DCeased. So this is technically DCeased 2. I loved this issue. So what's going on here is the severed head of Cyborg is sending out a message that he wants the Justice League to come back to Earth. And at the end of DCeased, everybody left Earth. So the new Justice League comes back, and that's Damian Wayne Batman, that's John Kent Superman, and all these others, and thinks that they're going to be able to save Cyborg. And then in doing so, they run into zombie Wonder Woman, who kills Ollie, which was pretty brutal. And then right at the end, Green Lantern Mockingbird, she wants to get revenge, so she goes to kill Diana, and John realizes that what Cyborg's been transmitting is some sort of cure, and that he's figured it out. And so he goes to stop her from doing it, and like the last panel is her stabbing the sword, the Wonder Woman's sword that can kill a god, through John and into Wonder Woman, killing Superman and Wonder Woman.
Oh.
Awesome book. This first issue is my favorite issue of this series so far. Definitely check this out if you're.
I gotta catch up on that too.
Real quick, Fantastic Four Empyre #0. It was an okay story, but it's really just setting up where Fantastic Four is going to be for the beginning of Empyre next week. It was okay. I'm just not a big Fantastic Four fan. I got it more because I was really looking forward to Empyre. Join the Future #3. We get kind of the girl that's the center of the story. It's basically her training to go back and kill the people that killed her family. So the entire issue is like one giant montage of her like training. Really great series. I like it. And then Superman #23. We get a new villain in this. Dr. Fate's in this.
Oh, cool.
He goes back to like Fate's universe or whatever it is. His like
stairway place.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good like conversation between those two, and then we're introduced to this new villain who is connected to Fate somehow. So
interesting. Good
issue. And then the last thing I read was finally Batman Volume 7, The Wedding.
Oh.
So first of all, the Joker story in this is like 2 issues, perfect in every way. That's exactly what Joker would do. I love that those 2 issues. I thought they're great. And I'm glad that that's how he used the Joker, and he didn't do some massive Joker war story.
Right.
The first half of this is The Gift, which was Booster Gold changing time.
Yep.
That was definitely just set up for him to do Heroes in Crisis. I can see it now that we're years in the future.
It was all for the event book for sure.
Yeah. But I will say that last issue, the actual quote unquote wedding issue, I kind of gained a newfound respect for Tom King in this issue, because the whole issue is the twist of like they didn't get married. Spoilers, everybody. But knowing that going in, I still like fell into the issue and loved the writing. I think he wrote that issue so wonderfully that it really put him on like a different level for me after reading that issue. So I'm going to continue and try to get Volume 8 here soon, but I liked it.
Nice.
The Booster Gold story was okay. It's just I could tell it was a setup story.
Yeah, it was cool when you didn't know that, like what was happening with Heroes in Crisis, and yeah. But awesome.
So that's all I had. Mike, where can people find you on the internet?
Find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you and or the Fantastic Show?
They can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter. You can find the show at fortresscomicnews.com. Remember, everybody, 5-star reviews on your podcatcher. Like, subscribe, share on YouTube, and comment down below. That all helps out and makes us feel happy inside. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you all next week.